Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to an episode of Elevated Health. This is episode 3, and today we are going to be covering Jake and I's favorite topic. And if you are a skinny guy looking to get jacked, looking to put on some muscle, then this should be your favorite topic today. Jake, how do you feel about bulking season?
Bro, it is always bulking season. I feel like both of us have lived our lives for this moment to come together, sit down, and talk about bulking.
Man, I feel like we're just missing Austin at this point.
Oh yeah, need to have him on.
Dude, there's some of the meals he be posting in Elevate, man. I'm like, oh my god, how is he eating that many calories, bro? It's crazy.
He's demolishing calories, carbs too. I mean, he eats like 500 carbs a day.
Heck yeah. So we're gonna be talking about all this stuff of gaining weight, calories, carbs, putting on size, what you should be doing. Um, and just to give a little context frame of reference to our stories, like we were both the skinny guys who struggled to put on size, and now that is no longer the the picture. So I gained 20 pounds in 5 weeks. It's crazy. It's a crazy run.
Still don't know how you did that.
What
That's
what kind of weight were you sitting at, when you were at your, I guess, smallest?
yeah. Well, so I mean, I remember in college being like, I was real skinny. Like freshman year of college, I was like 130 pounds, like super skinny. Um, After I graduated, I was probably like 150, and then peak, when I was training hard for deadlifts, I got up to 170.
Gosh, that's still small.
Mm,
I was like
I'm an athlete
150,
though.
160 coming out of high school. Probably 160. And then I got up to, I sat about 180 for a while. And then I hit that bulk to like 212. Came back down. Now I sit like 190, 195. It's crazy what happens when you bulk and then come back. Like you sit 5, 10 pounds higher than you did. If you do a significant bulk for a significant amount of time, like I don't know if that's been your experience, but for me, I've done like two big bulks in my life, and both times I've came back to a like baseline of like 5 to 10 pounds heavier, mainly like 5 pounds heavier than I was before.
Yeah. Um, I mean, personally, I've never really had to like intentionally cut, like to lose weight. Um, you think it was because of the muscle you gained, and then when you gain 20 pounds, like I'm sure not all 20 of those are muscle. Like I'm sure you gained a bunch of muscle and then lost fat, and then you gain, like you found out that you gained 10 pounds of muscle, so you were sitting 10 pounds heavier.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Obviously, I've never done like the scans or anything to see what it was,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you can look at the pictures and just tell like there's a lot more muscle on my frame than was before. So, I mean, I think the photo evidence is what we should measure based on, not the scale, because as we all know, muscle weighs more than fat, right?
Yes, sir.
That cracks me up, dude. People say that. It's just like the whole conversation about the bricks and the feathers. Like, if you have a pound of bricks, you have a pound. If you have a pound of feathers, you have a pound. Uh, but it's volume that comes into play. Like, people are saying with that argument that if you have a certain volume of fat and the same volume of muscle, of course, muscle is a lot more dense, and it's gonna weigh more than that fat in the same volume. But like the whole thing of muscle weighs more than fat, I guess, in a prescribed volume. So I just want to debunk whatever that conversation is right out of the gates here. But let's just dive straight in. We're gonna do this similar to how we did the fat loss episode. If you guys listened to that, it's the episode right before this. And we're going to talk about 3 pillars of putting on size, building muscle. We're going to go through the pillar 1 of training, pillar 2 nutrition, pillar 3 recovery. Then we're going to kick around some personal stuff that's helped us gain weight and some myths that you guys see in the bulking space or just on the internet, what have you. So, curious from your perspective, bro, like training wise, what has been, I guess, the biggest thing that's helped you put on the most size?
Yeah. Training, I think it was going into the gym with intensity. I know we talked about this last week, but it's hard to really gain muscle and gain strength if you're not lifting heavy, if you're not pushing yourself, if you're not picking up heavier weight each week, progressively overloading. If you're not going till failure or at least close to failure for most of your sets, if you're going in there kind of just going through the motions. um, I mean, you're not going to get any stronger. You're barely going to gain muscle. I mean, you probably will gain a little bit if you are eating plenty, but it's about the intensity of your training style.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest like times where I put on the most size was just prepping for heavy, whether it's a strongman competition or just prepping for a big deadlift, like pulling six. Like when I was doing that, that's when I put on the most size, and I think it just all comes down to the amount of stress I was putting on the body to adapt. You know, every single day going in there and not maxing out. Like guys, you need to stop maxing out. Stop maxing out as much as you max out. It's just stupid. Like, but when you go in there, you're training. The training method that I was using was a percentage base. So I had max effort every single week. But it that doesn't mean max effort is in a single rep. You can have max effort and still go to 8 reps. Like, so I had max effort every single week, pretty much in everything I was doing. But I was prepping heavy, so that looked like maxing out every 12 weeks or so. But yeah, it's crazy just what happens when you go in there with some intent to move some weight. Uh, yeah, and that does not mean maxing out. I want to get that across.
Yeah. Yeah, it just maximum intensity. Like maxing out doesn't have to be a 1 rep max. You can do max effort for 10 reps. It's just going to be a lighter weight. Um,
Yeah,
but you said, when you were lifting heavy, training for that 600-pound deadlift, that's also where I found my biggest jump in weight is when I was training for that 500-pound deadlift. I mean, I went from, it's like 150, 155 to 170 just, in a 6 month time period. Is because I was pushing myself. I was lifting heavy. I think a lot of people get caught up in that, that hypertrophy or that hypertrophy range of like 8 to 12 reps. You shouldn't be lifting heavy weight because it's not enough work, not enough reps. Um, I think the perfect training is a combination of both. You're lifting heavy on your big compound movements like deadlift, bench, whatever, squat, and then these accessories, you're putting more stress on the muscle by also lifting heavy, but you're hitting more reps, doing more work.
yeah. I think also looking at like finishers of workouts. I don't want to get too in the weeds of like a program because people can't really follow that conversation. But so the way Jake and I both structure our training is you start with your compound movements, your bigger movements, your bench, your squats, your deadlifts, and then you move through a handful of other compound movements. Some accessory stuff like you move from bench to dumbbell bench to some chest work. Like, but what I'm talking about next is the finishers at the end of the workout. I think I really put on some size by doing high volume finishers at the end. Especially like my triceps, man. For some reason, I've always just been gifted with a strong triceps. Like when I was in high school, I had the most narrow bench because I didn't have any back to support my bench. So I had just like this, like basically shoulder width bench. And I mean, I pushed 340 at 16. So my triceps have just always been naturally gifted. So when I just smoke those things with a high volume, for some reason they just blow up, dude, in strength and in just I guess size is what I'm looking for. So I think finishers at the end have really been good, and to give the people listening like a kind of what that looks like in my training, we talk about face pulls, in episode 1, like high volume of face pulls. I'm talking like 3 sets of 30. High volume of push-ups and dips. Those are my upper body finishers almost every time. Like doing AMRAPs of push-ups and dips at the end of workouts, like 3 sets of as many reps as possible. And when you're doing that, you can get a good volume of push-ups in. You do sets of 30, 40, 50 push-ups. Like it's a lot. I guess on the leg side of things, trying to think of good finishers for the legs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do a whole lot of finishers, but sometimes if you want to add in, like supersets to close out, maybe like superset some body weight lunges with leg extensions, just, try to get the quads to go to failure, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I personally think that that has helped a lot. It's just more volume at the end, and a lot of people may call that junk volume, but I think when you're doing those reps intentionally, like I don't think anything is really junk volume at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's building your work capacity. I used to, think it's junk volume, and I mean, partially still do, but when I was doing it, I was seeing good results, and you can't argue with results. So, it's if it works, it works.
Yeah, bro, science for sure. So, biggest thing guys should take away from training is again intensity. Like, get in there, train with some intensity. That does not mean maxing out. Push yourself in numbers. That can mean doing a 4 rep max. That can mean doing a 6 rep max. Like, you can see what you can do, for 6 reps and then try to beat it, in 2 weeks. Like, don't try to beat it the next week. Come back
Yeah,
2 weeks later and try to beat it. Stop trying to max out every single week. Your body needs like 2 weeks to recover before you come back and try to max out. That's on a big like compound movement such as bench, squat, deadlift. If you're doing like seated rows of 6 reps, and go until failure, like you can come back next week and do your seated rows till failure again and try to beat your number every single week that way. But with the big movements, like give yourself a week in between. What should they do, with that week in between though?
yeah. Well, first, I just want to say, like, we're talking about these compound movements, like the bench, squat, and deadlift. These don't have to be barbell movements. Like, you don't have to be a power lifter. If you don't enjoy barbell bench, use dumbbells. Use a machine. If you don't like, back squats, change it up. Use a hack squat machine. Use the Smith machine. There are different variations that you can use. That doesn't have to be like the standard powerlifting big three.
Yeah. The only thing I would add there is, and I would add this for the big three, but if you are going to switch to like a Smith machine squat, like understand that's the position that's going to put your body in. Like people hate on the Smith machine. I'm not a hater on the Smith machine. I really like it if you know how to use it. I think the problem as to why people hate on it so much is because it's a fixed bar path, and that can be really bad on your body when you're trying to squat, especially if you're trying to go heavy and push yourself. So if you are a guy who's trying to push some weights around, like you do have a serious risk of injury if you don't know what you're doing. Like there is no doubt about that. So hire Jake, get a coach, get somebody who's going to actually teach you how to lift. Even if you just work with someone for 12 weeks, like that's going to set you up for life. If they're a good coach, that is, that's going to set you up with a foundation of should be everything, how to move in the gym, how to move on any given movement, nutrition side of things. Like I just really want to get that across because I see a lot of guys, even in my commercial gym today, where I saw a guy yesterday incline bench 3 plates, man, and I'm telling you, he did not know how to bench, but he was like 250. He was huge, and he missed it. I was like, this dude is soft. I was about to go over there and take it for a ride myself, but he just did not know how to bench. And I'm not the guy to look around and judge other people. I've just spent a decade training to where it's hard to not see when people don't know what they're doing, because I spent 5 years coaching people and just studying how they moved and how they moved wrong. So yeah, I want to get that across because there is risk of injury, like very highly, especially if you're not putting yourself in the proper positions.
For sure. Yep. Yeah, I mean, back to that Smith machine, like you said, it's a guided path. Other things like machines, a lot of people like using machines because, it's you don't have to work those stabilizer muscles, and it's easier to, I guess, target the or isolate the targeted muscle. But once again, machines are guided, so you got to make sure you adjust the machine right. If it's on the wrong setting, you're not going to put your body in the correct position.
Yeah. and somebody listening to this, like, if you're wondering, like, wouldn't a guided path be safer? It's almost like, bowling with, like, rails or something. Like, wouldn't it being guided be safer? No, because it's going to force your body in an awkward position. Whereas if you were squatting a free weight, like a barbell, that was completely free of a Smith machine, your body will just take that bar wherever it naturally needs to go. But you go on the Smith machine, the bar can't move. So what moves? Your body. And that can be scary if you don't know what you're doing and you're not putting yourself in the right spot. Yeah, your spine is the one going to compensate for that bar not moving. So I'm not saying be scared. I've never stepped into the gym scared, even, pulling 6+. Like, not saying be scared. I'm saying get educated so you can have confidence when you do step in to push yourself and move some weights. But that is what you should be doing, training with intensity, moving some heavy weights. Is that all you feel needs covered as far as training?
I think so.
I know nutrition is going to be the big piece of this.
Yep. That touches most of it.
Cool. Well, let's just roll on into the meat of this entire episode and what most guys need to focus on, because most guys are eating like birds and wondering why they're not gaining weight. So just rip the Band-Aid. Let's start with calories. Let's start with like counting the calories. How many calories should guys be consuming, would you say? How do they find that?
So caloric surplus. Last week on losing weight, we talked about being at a deficit, under that maintenance number. If you want to gain weight, you got to be above that maintenance number. So once you find that maintenance number, whatever it is, I like using the, calorie calculator. Just look it up online. Put in my information. It's a rough estimate of what my maintenance number should be. Bump that number up, 300 calories or so, maybe even up to 500. I don't usually recommend going extremely high. I know this is something we want to talk about is, just eating as much as you can, or dirty bulking, but if you go too high above that number, then you're going to be putting on a lot more fat as well with the muscle. So you want to be at a 300 to 500 surplus, not too much higher than that to be at a healthy weight gain.
Yeah, so for everyone wondering, what does the maintenance number mean? What the maintenance number means is simply, if, say you do the calorie calculator and it spits out 3,000 as your maintenance. I'm just using 3,000. That's probably not your maintenance. It's probably much higher. 3,000 is. But if it spits out 3,000, that means if you eat 3,000 calories in the day, your weight should remain the same. Like, you're going to burn 3,000 and you're going to consume 3,000, so you should remain the same. A surplus is eating over 3,000. So that means I'm going to burn 3,000 in the day, so I'm going to eat more than 3,000 to gain weight. A deficit, obviously the opposite of that, eating less than 3,000 to lose weight. So type in that calorie calculator, get that maintenance number. It's going to ask you for some information, height, weight, activity level. Like, it's going to ask you for some stuff like that. Put in all your stuff, be real. Get your number, and then, go off of that. And again, just like I notioned with the weight loss episode, like, tracking food sucks, right? Like, nobody wants to track their food. We don't want to weigh it out. I get that. But if you do it for 2 to 4 weeks, you're going to be set for life. Probably more like 4 weeks. If you do it for 12 weeks, you're really going to have a good grasp. So it's like, how much is tracking food worth the knowledge and education for the rest of your life? It's something where I've only tracked food for probably 12 weeks out of my life, and I could look at any given plate and come pretty close to the calories and the proteins that are sitting on that plate. So 12 weeks and you're set for life. Like, you can do 12 weeks worth of tracking your food. So getting that calorie surplus, 300 to 500, Jake says. I went way over that, man. When I was bulking, I was thick. My peak was 5,500 calories a day.
Okay, I was going to say, when you were at like 212, that's how many calories you were hitting?
Yeah, I was eating 5,500 every day, which is probably 2,500 over, maybe even more than that.
Man.
Yeah. But I gained 20 pounds in 5 weeks. And I was fluffy. Like, don't get me wrong, I was fluffy. But I knew what I was getting myself into. Like, I have no problem losing weight, how Jake mentioned in the beginning. So I knew it didn't matter what I was going to gain. I could give myself 4 weeks and I could have dropped 20 right back down. Like, it's as
AC,
easy as that. Yeah. So
pork chop.
I was thick, but yeah, I went way over. And I think yeah, I think I don't recommend that. Like, was it fun? Did I put on a ton of weight? Did I gain weight after I cut, back down? I cut. I didn't really cut. I just stopped eating as much. Just went back to eating normal, and things went back to normal. But yeah, I don't think I'd recommend. One, it threw off my training quite a bit, just because I was putting on so much weight that my movements were a lot different in the gym, and that's kind of in the weeds of training. But when you put on 20 pounds, it changes your leverages of how you move a bar, how you move a dumbbell. Like, things just change when you have extra fluff on your body. So it definitely changed my training. Yeah, and I just looked blobby. I was fluffy, man.
Blobby. We're a little bit fluffy. You were strong though.
Yeah, so all right, we got our calorie number. They should be eating 3 to 500 over the maintenance that this internet site will spit out to them. And if you guys aren't gaining weight with that 3 to 500, one, you might be tracking wrong. But two, up the number. Like, if you're not gaining weight, that means you need to eat more. Up the number. So there's calories. Let's talk about protein. How much protein should guys normally eat when they're not trying to gain weight? And does that number change when they are trying to gain weight?
Yeah. I mean, if you're not trying to put on size, usually between zero point 0.8 and 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you're 200 pounds, shoot for around 200 grams of protein. I mean, a little less is fine, but when you're trying to put on size, that number has to increase. So if you're 180 trying to make it to 200, your protein number should be at least your goal body weight. So if you're trying to get the 200 pounds, you should be eating at least 200 grams of protein each day.
Cool.
Is that kind of
Yeah.
what you're thinking?
Yeah, I always did goal body weight,
Okay.
100%. So yeah, I like that. And it's something where when your protein increases, your calories are going to increase. Like, typically, high protein foods are pretty high in calories. Like, not pretty relative to other stuff. Obviously not junk food like Oreos and shit, but like steak has a good amount of calories because it has a good amount of
Yep.
fat in it. So you're going to get some
Okay.
quality calories in when you increase the amount of meat you're eating is what I'm alluding to. So yeah, up the protein. So let's talk about carbs and fats. I mean, we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but what's your kind of take there? Where should those numbers, not numbers specifically, probably, unless you want to talk about that, but what should guys be doing there?
No, I think carbs, definitely be eating a lot of carbs. I think so many guys focus on the protein and they just not completely cut out carbs, but they start lacking on the carbs. And then you'll see it, you'll see the energy in the gym, starts to suffer because you're not eating your carbs. So you're not lifting as intensely. You're not able to lift as heavy weight, which is going to hurt your gains. But carbs are, I think they're just almost as important as the protein in terms of performance wise, especially after, a workout, after you burn up all those carbs. I mean, you're eating plenty of food. So make sure you're eating carbs to replenish that fuel, that energy that you just, burnt in the gym working out.
Yeah. And I mean, I ate a ton of carbs. I always eat a ton of carbs. There's no doubt about that. When you train hard, especially right now, hitting 2 days for 75 hard, prepping for a marathon, trying to dunk a basketball, like training hard. So it's like I got to eat a ton of carbs. But when I was bulking, I had a foundation of carbs that I ate. Yes, I increased that, but I increased my fats a ton because, classic case of fats have more calories than carbs just because they're more dense. Um, so I increased my fats a ton to hit the calorie number is what I'm saying. And what that looked like for me was, you know, more ground pork. Like, pork is a fattier meat. Jake is shaking his head right now. He doesn't eat any pork. I love pork. I know it's not the highest quality of meat, but I love the flavor of it, man. It tastes so good. But
Oh, for
you
sure.
know,
I miss bacon.
yeah, you just got to get back on the I eat bacon every single day, bro. But it looked like fattier meats. It got away from, like, you shouldn't be eating turkey if you're trying to bulk. Like, if you're trying to bulk, turkey is the leanest, one of the leanest meats there is. It doesn't have many calories to it. So turn to some fattier meats, some porks if you're me, steaks, things like that. Anything you would add to kind of that switch up?
I eat a lot more, or I was eating a lot more ground beef, and just make it in different ways so I don't get sick and tired of the same thing. I'd make it into taco meat, or it's like sloppy joes, or just cook it up on the stove and make it with eggs. I think so many times we do get sick of eating the same exact thing, you know, chicken and rice or whatever. You're shaking your head.
Nah.
But I mean, there are ways you can change it up just to make it easier on yourself to eat. Because for me, if I eat something too many times, I get sick of it, and it's harder for me to eat. So ways for me to make it easier on myself to eat more, which is changing the way I prepare the food.
For sure. Yeah. I think other like easy switches in your diet that will help you get more calories in is going to like whole milk stuff if you do anything dairy. I went heavy into dairy when I was bulking because it's just easy calories. Like, I love milk too, and I love yogurt. So whole milk, Greek yogurt, I was slamming that, and then I was drinking whole milk, even raw milk, a portion of that. So that stuff is high in fat, which is, like I've been saying, high in calories. So I did that. Another thing I did was I leveraged sugar to increase my appetite every single meal. So like the dopamine response that you're going to get from sugar, when sugar hits your mouth, your saliva is going to increase. You're going to get some dopamine, and your appetite's going to spike. So I leveraged that every single meal. I would just shoot some honey in my mouth, man, and then that would spike my appetite, and I would slam food. What I would do also, like you're saying, change up meals, I would line up 3 or 4 different sauces for my meat. So I would start with like a ketchup, let's say, put ketchup on my ground beef, smash it, and then when that got old, switch barbecue sauce. When that got old, switch, like a ranch or whatever. Just thinking about sauces. Switch buffalo. Like, I would line up different sauces just to change the flavor, so I could just eat more. And I mean, that worked great. I still do that to this day. It's not to eat more, but it's just sometimes I'm just like, oh, let me get a couple sauces out here and switch it up.
Yeah, for sure. I think I think we can both agree, eating is the hardest part of bulking. It's just, eating at a surplus. For the skinny guy, you're not used to having to eat so much. Um, so what are some things that helped like increase your caloric intake? Like, what helped you eat more calories in your diet?
Yeah, I mean, like I had mentioned before, going to some fattier meats, whole milk type dairy products. I would say another thing is maximizing my eating window. So all that meant was eating as soon as I woke up and eating up until I went to bed. Like, I would not waste any time. I would come out of bed straight to the fridge, and then I would eat before bed as well. So like, I would capitalize on the entire time I was awake. I was leveraging it all to get calories in. I don't know how you feel about that, but I was really, I wasn't fasting and limiting myself to 6 hours to eat in the day. I was capitalizing on the entire, what, 16 hours that I was awake to eat.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. If you are listening to this and you're trying to put on size and you are fasting, stop. Stop fasting. It's going to make it so much harder to get all your calories in. So like what Matt said, first thing in, start eating, and later into the day, after dinner, keep eating and just maximize that window of your eating so you can get as many calories in.
Yeah.
Something else that helped me is liquid calories. So many things like protein shakes, they get all this hate, like, oh, that's not healthy for you. It's gonna tear up your gut. Maybe so, but it's an easy way to add in extra calories. When I eat my breakfast, lunch, dinner, some snacks throughout the day, I'm feeling full. I don't want to eat any more food, right? But I'm still needing more calories. I need that 500 calories to hit my surplus, to hit my goal. So what I'll do is, blend up a smoothie. I don't go to the store and buy these smoothies, off the shelf with these ingredients that I can't even pronounce. So I just make my own smoothie. I have a blender. I put in some fruit, some protein powder, some honey, make it sweeter, more carbs, more calories, and I blend it up and drink it real fast. I mean, it's so much easier to intake liquid calories than to have to eat when you're feeling full.
Yeah, that was another big thing. And you can sneak a lot of calories into a shake too. You
For
get a
sure.
pretty high cal shake, but like he's saying, like he's going to shakes last. Like he go to liquid after you've already eaten, um, and he's still putting quality stuff into the blender too. Like I think that's the biggest thing I want to get across. I was eating 5,500 calories, and believe it or not, it was quality foods, foods I still eat to this day. I was just eating a lot, like just capitalizing on that eating window, doing literally every little thing I could, slamming honey to spike that appetite, like doing all these little things to add up. Like you can get a lot of extra calories in, just with these little things in your diet without having to turn to, just bullshit fast food or like that. That's not going to build a quality body. You're building with low quality bricks. You're not going to build quality muscle with low quality intake of food. Like it's just not going to happen. You're doing yourself more harm than good by trying to dirty bulk than anything. And I'm a firm believer in that.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, the quality of your calories is going to influence the quality of your weight gain, the quality of your daily life, your living, how you feel. So dirty bulk gets this popular, of you're putting on a bunch of weight, but a lot of that weight's going to be fat. So if you want to gain lean muscle and not just, put a bunch of fat on your body, then definitely eat real healthy food.
Dirty bulk is simply guys just being lazy and giving themselves an excuse to eat whatever they want. That is
Exactly.
it. They simply lack discipline and just want an excuse to say they could eat whatever they want. So they just say, I'm on a dirty bulk. It's like the classic powerlifters being fat. They'd say they have extra weight so they could move more weight. Mass moves mass. Now you see at the top of the powerlifting game, the human body performs optimally when it is not fat. Dude, it's crazy. Those guys at the top now, man, they are jacked. They could step onto a bodybuilding competition and win
Yeah,
right after their powerlifting competition. It's nuts.
for sure. Yeah, guys like Jamal Browner pulling what is it,
1,100.
1,100 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's not a huge guy. He doesn't have a bunch of mass. I mean, he's jacked though.
Oh, he's huge, though. He's like 240, man.
Is he
But,
really?
I mean, yeah, but he's
But
also
it's
like
it's like muscle though.
six.
It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, oh, yeah, he's shredded. He could
he's
totally
got a
step onto
huge
a
belly.
bodybuilding show.
Exactly. Like that was my point. Is he's not fat. He's like most
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it
yeah.
is muscle. He's an athlete. Yeah.
For sure. He's super lean. Like, yeah, he's 8 weeks out from a bodybuilding comp for sure. Uh,
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, he's just super tall. He's like 6'2" or something. I don't know, and like 220, 240. Like big guy, um, muscle, big guy, not fat. But yeah, it's crazy to see. It's absolutely crazy to see those guys, man. But back to the nutrition. So we've got calories laid out. We know caloric surplus. Let's hit for 500 over that maintenance that the site's going to spit out when we input our info. We know our protein. We're going to set it at our goal weight. Uh, that's pretty straightforward. We know we need to just get more carbs in to fuel our training. Do some little stuff in our diet to get some more fats in. Switch to whole milk stuff if we like dairy. Switch to some fattier meats. Get out of turkey, get more into steak. We're gonna turn to liquid calories. after we've already eaten everything we can, appetite's gone, but we got to get some more calories in, so we're going to blend up a smoothie, healthy stuff in the blender to get some extra calories in. We're going to capitalize on our eating window. Anything else nutrition-wise that you want to add?
Um, this kind of goes back to the training aspect of it, but adding in, cardio will increase your appetite. For me, it made it easier to eat food when I, did 5, 10 minutes of intense cardio, whether, that's sprints, some, stair climbing or, even just running like a mile. A lot of this, we'll talk about this again, but, like the cardio kills gains.
For
Um,
sure.
it, you hear that all the time. And the cardio that kills gains is like endurance training. If you're doing, like 10-mile runs each day, if you're training for a marathon, stuff like that, it's not, if you're bulking, it doesn't give you the excuse to not do any cardio at all. For me, I was doing some intense cardio a couple times a week, and that was helping me eat. If you run a mile or something, you may burn what, like 200 calories. I don't know how much you'd actually burn, but let's just say somewhere around 200. I mean, I was drinking a glass of chocolate milk last night. I was looking at the label. One cup is 220 calories, 8
Boom.
grams protein, 8 grams fat, 30 grams of carbs. Took me 2 seconds to drink. I just refilled those 200 calories that I ran the mile or the lost running the mile, and I just drank it in 2 seconds. So it's not like cardio is going to kill your gains. It's going to help you eat more.
Yeah, that's a big, big deal. Everyone needs to hear that. Like, get some high intensity cardio in your training if you're trying to put on size. Not only is it going to increase your appetite, but I think this is a perfect segue into recovery as well. Like, what cardio is going to do for your recovery is going to be massive. With your heart rate, your blood flow, like, you're going to recover better when you are in a good aerobic, condition, when you are able to actually breathe. Is what I'm saying. Like, you're already putting a lot on your body by gaining weight. Like, it's tough to gain weight and keep up your cardio. So if you can keep up the cardio, it's gonna help your appetite, but it's gonna help your recovery. So one thing, endurance athletes, bro, I was thinking about this the other day. Cardio kills gains, like you're saying, when you do the long endurance stuff. The endurance athletes probably work the hardest and put the most stress on the body and look the worst. I was like, that sucks
Yeah.
for those guys. Like, I'm talking, I respect those guys who can go out and, run the Ironmans and beyond that, like, the 100-milers or whatever, like those long endurance stuff. But, I mean, they are all just, some of them even have, like, not at the top, but, like the average, like, endurance athlete, like, has some extra body fat that they could totally get rid of. Like, and just looks like their bones are like they're super skinny and they got so much like just strain on their joints, man. I was like, it's sad to see them because they train the hardest. They put in the most time and they look the worst. I was like, that's terrible. I want no piece of that. So just thinking about that the other day. And you were talking about the endurance training, and I just want to throw that out there. It's because cardio does kill gains at that level. Like, you're not gaining anything when you're out there running. Like, you're gaining mental fortitude. I'll give you that, but I want to look good in the mirror.
Yeah, I'd rather have some muscle on my body than be extremely skinny and high cardio shape. But I mean that's kind of it falls into that category of where you feel best, what body weight you feel best at. Hybrid athlete, where are you strong and have endurance, things like that.
Yeah, and major respect to the hybrid athletes. Like, I'm not talking about hybrid athletes. Those dudes who
Yeah.
can lift heavy and go out and run the 100-milers, like, those are some savages. I'm talking about the people who just strictly run a ton or bike or whatever, and they look bad for doing it. Not the hybrid athletes who are just a savage in both realms. But so let's carry on into recovery because I'm talking about cardio, how to improve recovery. It's just gonna help your heart rate. It's gonna help your sleep. Like, it's gonna help the blood flow. Like, you're gonna get a lot out of getting some high intensity cardio in. But other spots of recovery to put on size, what do you got for us?
Sleep, sleep, 7, 9 hours, 10 hours through mat.
Heck yeah, bro.
um, but I think we mentioned nutrition is like the biggest thing to gaining size, but that doesn't mean recovery or training are less important. I actually think training is definitely important because the harder you train, the more you're going to eat, the better you're going to sleep. It's a lot easier to sleep at night when you're tired from your training during the day.
Yeah.
So train hard, eat a lot, and then sleep well. Sleep plenty. You can't be sleeping 4 hours at a night, 4 or 5 hours, and expect to be putting on muscle when you're sleeping. That's when the protein synthesis happens. All these things in your body are resetting, regenerating to prepare you for that next day. So if you're lacking on sleep, you're not gaining anything. Nothing is recovering.
Yeah, and I'll even give a use case example for that. I had a client, and I may have shared this in the past on this show, but I had a client that she is a woman. She went from not being able to do an air squat without holding on to something because she just couldn't balance to squatting 135. And as strong as she got, I guarantee those before and after pictures look the exact same from a physique standpoint because she didn't ever sleep. She never slept. She was a night shift nurse, so sleep was just, and she was also in school. So she had a lot on her plate. Like she was just trying to, I'm sure she could have slept more than she did, but she would literally tell me, she's like, I haven't slept in like 2 days. And we'd be in there training. I'm like, you need to just go home. Like, you shouldn't even be here training right now. Like, what are you doing? She'd come in so tired. Like, and kudos to her for, showing up, but she got a ton stronger. But she didn't sleep, and what it caused was just a ton of stress. And stress will cause you to keep that fat on. Your body is very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like instinctual, I think. Like your body's very instinctual. When you're under a lot of stress, your body's not wanting to let stuff go. It's like, oh God, we got to keep everything we can. We got to store it up because we may need this. Life is hard. Life is stressful. So yeah, she was just under so much stress and she kept so much weight around her hips. But yeah, I mean, going from not being able to do an air squat to squatting 135, you think it'd be a brand new person. You take your shirt off, but no, it was not because, and she didn't eat the best either, but she was working on her diet more than she was sleep. She was just not sleeping at all. So that's how big sleep can be. For a woman to squat 135 is a big deal in general. To do it without ever sleeping,
For sure.
that's crazy. But but yeah, like, and then to not change physique, like to go from such a big jump and then to not change physique is wild. So sleep is all I'm trying to get home here is it's vital. It's so important. We do not understand the things that happen during our sleep for our health. Just overall, it's so important. That's why I never have neglected it. Like you see all this entrepreneur hustle culture. It's like, sleep when we're dead, whatever. It's like I'm never gonna neglect my sleep, and I guarantee I'm gonna get most efficient work just as much as anyone in because I get good quality sleep and my body is firing.
For sure. Yep. I think a lot of that lack of sleep is an excuse of, oh, I'm working harder than you. It's like, yeah, but you could be working more efficiently if you got some sleep.
Yeah, insecurity, man. And don't get me wrong, there are some guys who probably need to lose some sleep to get some extra hours in. I'm sure Elon Musk is losing some sleep with all that he's got on his plate. And obviously, I just went to an extreme use case, but there are some guys who have that demand on their life. But then I would challenge you with, what do you even want out of life? Like, why have you put so much on your plate where you can't even take care of your body? Like, health will never come second because I have nothing without my health. So that's just my priorities list. But other than sleep, in terms of recovery, we're getting the 7 to 9. What else shall we be doing?
Anything that's going to be like an active recovery. Mobility is a huge one for me. Just getting the body to move, getting the joints moving, the muscles moving, if you're training in the gym hard, you look forward to those rest days, right? Your body can relax, you can move your body, you can go for a walk, you can do some stretching, these things that are going to make it easier to hit for your next training session. It makes your body feel better, it makes your body feel stronger, and you're ready to go for your next workout.
Yeah. Yeah, get some movement in. Stop sitting around on your days off.
Yep.
I get what it's like to train hard and eat a lot and just want a day to just kind of lay around, be lazy, but that's not helping you gain muscle. Get some movement in. It's going to help you recover. You're going to start feeling better. It's going to start compounding a lot if you take care of yourself recovery wise. So yeah, I think another piece that I would add is supplements, specifically sleep supplements that have helped me a lot. I take magnesium glycinate, and I mean, when I first started taking it, wow, insane difference. And when you guys, if you are going to start taking it, just look it up, magnesium glycinate. So glycinate's an amino acid. Magnesium, obviously, is magnesium. Um, so, but what you're going to do is what like to for dosage is what I'm talking about here. Like push your dosage. I take around 460 milligrams supplemented every day right now. And then obviously whatever comes out of my food comes out of my food, but I'm talking about just supplement. And I've realized if I push beyond that, 500, 600, that's when my body's like, nah, we ain't doing this. And how you'll know if you're pushing too much is your next morning, you'll be on the toilet and you won't like it. So that's the biggest sign to just back off the magnesium. So if that happens, understand it's very normal. And like just back off of a pill or two. Like so that one's been huge. L-theanine as well is something that I take for sleep. Take that every night. That's been crazy as well. My dreams are like movies, man. Feels so real. I'm getting 8 to 10 hours of just nothing but movie scenes in my sleep. It feels like so. It's incredible. So those are the two sleep supplements that I take. Is there anything? I don't want to bombard people with all these stuff that they need to go buy.
Yeah.
But go
Not
ahead.
sleep, but biggest supplement for me,
Yeah,
creatine.
I was gonna say, is that creatine?
Yeah,
That's the
creatine.
biggest one they should be taking for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if you're not trying to put on size, I think, most people in general should be taking creatine, but especially if you're trying to put on size, it makes you bigger. It stores the creatine and your stores water in your muscles, makes your muscles get bigger. Um, I mean, it helps with energy, ATP. Um, so it
Adenosine
just,
triphosphate.
yes, sir. Um, yeah. I
Have
mean, you
to.
have different energy systems, and creatine is part of one of those energy systems. Your creatine phosphate. Um, so it's the energy system that helps produce fast explosive movements. What is weightlifting? It's fast explosive movements. Things that range 5, 10, 20 seconds. It's not the endurance stuff. It's the fast movement. So it helps with energy. Force output, things like that. So definitely take creatine if you're looking to put on size.
Yeah. Do you take monohydrate?
I do. Yep,
Yeah. So
5 grams a day, just one scoop.
creatine monohydrate. Make sure you look for that. Don't just get creatine. Get creatine monohydrate. It'll just help with solubility. Uh, I believe is why
Yeah,
solubility,
I, I haven't
absorption.
taken. Yeah, I haven't taken any of the others. Have you? Other than monohydrate?
Um, I don't know. I don't think so. But yeah, creatine is like one of the supplements that I know when because like a lot of times in this health space, you'll get a supplement and you're like, is it really helping? I don't really know.
Hmm.
And you'll kind of give it a trial run. If you don't feel something, then you'll be like, all right, I'm not spending my money. Creatine's something where when you're taking it, you're taking it. When you're not taking it, you're not taking it. So I highly recommend. Magnesium's
For
another
sure.
one where I know if I'm taking it or not. L-theanine's another one where I can tell a difference. As far as that, those are really like the only three that I've found, and I've tried a lot of supplements in my life, but those are the only three that I'm not saying the other ones don't work, But I'm saying like those are the three that I felt like tangible difference when taking it and when not.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
So
I can speak on the creatine. The others I have not taken. Magnesium, I take that as well sometimes. It's not like consistently, but I take it when I need it. Especially for like muscle soreness. If I cramp up or something, I take some magnesium. It's like an instant release or relief. It's like my muscles are no longer tight and sore. It's amazing.
yeah, magnesium is a incredible one. But supplements as a whole, like hydration, I think is something I think we should cover just to round out this episode here. What should people be doing to stay hydrated? You know, especially taking creatine, training hard, like doing the things we're doing, trying to put on size. You know, what should we be doing?
Yeah, water with minerals. You got minerals in there?
Nah, bro, it's 75 hard. You got to drink plain water.
Plain water? A gallon of plain water? No way.
I swear to God, it's terrible.
I got a half gallon here. I got salt in here and trace minerals. So, I mean, anytime you're working, you're sweating, you're moving, you're losing these minerals. So you got to replenish. Don't be drinking plain tap water or even filtered water takes takes the minerals out of it. So sometimes you have to add more minerals in.
Yeah, I'm sure I could do minerals. I'm sure it's more about flavor than anything. And I do put minerals in one of my bottles. So I definitely do. But
You still drink the what are those packets of the Element Tea? You
yes,
put those in
sir.
it? Okay.
Yes, sir. Get some element teas in. I put a lot of salt and stuff in my food, and then obviously I supplement the magnesium. So yeah, and I make sure like my diet is balanced in getting all the minerals in from food first, specifically
Yep.
too. So like that's a great way to stay hydrated too. Is like literally look up, the minerals you need to have in your body and look up foods that are high in it. And I mean, you're gonna be pretty safe if you literally just eat fish and meat and eggs. You're gonna cover about all of them. Now, to what quantity is a whole different story. But if you're bulking, you're eating a lot of that stuff. Like you're gonna be in good shape. So, yeah, minerals has been
For
a
sure.
game changer for me cognitively, and just performance in the gym. Like I could tell a difference when I'm hydrated versus when I'm not. So, especially if you start taking creatine, one thing I do want to know with creatine is like if you start getting headaches in the gym when you're training hard, it's because you're dehydrated. You take creatine, you go in the gym, you start feeling like not like a massive headache, but just like a head tension. That's your body telling you you're dehydrated from the creatine. I've experienced that a lot. It's not a bad thing. Just go start getting some more water, getting some more minerals, and you'll be in good shape. And creatine
Yep.
like is the most studied supplement out there. Like it is extremely safe to take. Everyone should be taking it. You do not have to cycle off of it. Like Jake said, 5 grams a day, or yeah, and
Yep.
Chad ram that thing as much as you can. So,
Yep.
but yeah, dude. I mean, overall, bulking season is. I think it might be a wrap on the episode. So training, I'll just run through a quick overview. Like training, intensity, pushing weight. That does not mean we have to go max effort. If you're looking to push, heavy weights, I recommend hiring a coach just for a safety aspect. If you get a good coach, it should be a 12 weeks, and you should know, a foundation of what you need. So strength wise to be able to move some heavy weights. But yeah, go in there, get some intensity going. Cardio, don't let cardio, fall out of your training. Cardio does not kill gains. Long endurance cardio does kill gains, but high intensity cardio, what we mean by that is sprints, assault bike intervals, stuff that's going to get your heart rate up, force you to move fast. We're not saying go run for an hour. No, it's more like go do, 4 sets of 100-foot sprints that'll get your heart rate up and get you firing fast. That'll help with your recovery. That'll help increase the appetite a ton. Heading into nutrition, go find your maintenance number. Go about 500 calories over that maintenance number and set right there. If you don't start gaining weight, bump that thing up. Protein, set it to your goal weight. If you are currently 150 pounds and you want to weigh 180 pounds, 180 grams of protein is what you should be eating. Now, something to preface with that is like if you have a lot of weight you want to gain, you may need to incrementally take that number up. Like if you're 140 pounds and you're like, I want to be 200, maybe you set the goal at 160 first and then work your way up. You may need to progress on that. But yeah, get as much carbs and fats in as you can from quality sources. Make sure you're getting a ton of carbs in, especially around your training. It's going to fuel your training. It's going to fuel, your recovery. But mainly capitalize on that eating window. Eat a lot. Go to liquid calories if your appetite is just non-existent. And then turn into recovery. Make sure you're hitting your sleep. Make sure you're getting your blood flow up on your rest days. Don't just lay around like a slob. Get some walks in. Get some active mobility, stretching in. Get your sleep dialed in. Maybe you need some sleep supplements. Maybe you need some of these right here, these blue light glasses. These will help you out with your sleep. I put them on as soon as the sun goes down. I got those things on. Just help get in alignment with the circadian rhythm of my body, which we'll have episodes on all this kind of in the weeds stuff moving forward. Like we'll just continue to go deeper and deeper. But right now, we just want to cover the high level stuff. So definitely be taking creatine monohydrate. If you take any other supplement, like that's the number one supplement you should be taking if you're trying to put on size. Obviously outside of protein, but go to food first, powder second. I think I pretty much hit it all.
That was it. That is the bulking guide.
Right there, man. Cool. So I'm sure we'll have some ebooks and resources coming out inside of Elevate as well fairly soon around bulking. I know a lot of guys in there are trying to put on size. So if that's you, get ready for that stuff. If you're not in Elevate, something's wrong with you. So, all right.
Join us.
It's a wrap, man. We'll see y'all episode 4. Peace.